Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds in the studio, sheltering Ned from the storm this morning. Came in here soaking wet, and I had to cradle him in my arms, get him calmed down. But we're good, and we're going to talk about something that he'd have to actually hold me and cradle me if it ever were to happen, but it's possible. It's not the first time it's been floated around, but there was a story yesterday that the city of Kansas City might be looking at what they're going to do with the Truman Sports Complex, which, if you don't know, Arrowhead and the Royals are both there, Kaufman, and they play football and baseball in the same area. The idea is that they would move the Royals downtown and possibly move Arrowhead into the state of Kansas. They could do that out by the Speedway. They have plenty of room to pull that off if they wanted to. The other option I've heard is that they would just tear down Truman, build a new stadium there, put shops around it, kind of make its own baseball village essentially, but be for the Arrowhead. It wouldn't be called Arrowhead, of course, which would break my heart, but it would stay where it is.
Well, there are a number of options that are being explored, but the fact is that this is not some kind of a bogus scam that somebody's invented here, because sources in Kansas City, and these are the individuals who have a development in mind, have already gone to the Chiefs and said, would you be interested? And the Chiefs officials have said yes, depending on what the situation is. Now, it's not going to happen this year or next year, but it is a possibility. Would it be unique? No. New York Giants and New York Jets both play in New Jersey, right across the Hudson River. This probably, and the new development is by Kansas City, Kansas. It's by the city there. And they've got some very aggressive young developers in that particular area who want to take and do away with some of the lower area parts of Kansas City and make it, this is Kansas City, Kansas, of course, and make it into a much more viable circumstance. Apparently they have the money, and a new stadium would be in the offing. It would not include the Royals. It would include the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, it's in the future. It is a possibility, and it is not some kind of a bogus invention of some sort from way out. The Kansas City Royals are really exploring moving their stadium into the downtown area because they feel like it would be much more amenable to them and to the audience to play in the downtown area. This old man, who's not in Kansas City, says absolutely not going to Kauffman Stadium. Beautiful place. Drive in, park your car, go to the game, have a comfortable time, and then leave. Well, I don't think you could do that downtown, but it would open up the fan base to a younger group wanting to go out and party and carry on and have a good time. That's the Royals. The Chiefs, a little bit different story because, after all, the games are in a select time of the year, and there are only 17 of them, 8 of which will be at home, sometimes 9. So having the stadium in Kansas City, Kansas is not just a pipe dream. It could happen.
I would I don't know. I've always said I love that place. I've been going to games since I can remember as a child. I've tailgated there for both football and baseball. Only damn baseball team in baseball that tailgates at Kauffman. But if it would help the Royals get more butts in the seats by moving it somewhere downtown around Power and Light, I can see how it could help. It would be a cluster trying to get in and out of there. I mean, what I would personally do is I would park out by Westport, jump on one of those scooters and scooter in, or take the tram up. But still, even then, everyone else is going to be doing the same damn thing. Well,
that's what they do in St. Louis and Philadelphia and New York. You park your car in a certain area and then take a bus in, and that's really the way to go. You have to remember, and this is really hard, not for necessarily you, but for me to believe, because I saw the first games played there.
Yeah.
It's 50 years old. It is half a century.
I know.
Both of them.
But the end goal here, and I know that's what they want so bad, is to bring a Super Bowl to Kansas City. And I see it, that it's great, but I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to do for the chance to just get one Super Bowl.
If they did, Mike, there certainly would have to be a cover over the stadium.
Yeah, and it's going to be probably, 10, 15 years before we see it easily, if we're lucky. So we are getting closer and closer to the draft. Just a few short weeks now. We're past the month mark. Any hints on what the Chiefs are trying to pull? I hear that old Brett is making phone calls to see if anyone's interested in a couple double first-round picks.
What they're really interested in, and this is, to me, very curious, they trade Tyreek Hill and then load up on wide receivers, and they are still loading up on wide receivers, which allows me to believe that Smith-Schuster and Valdez-Scantling might not be the answers they're looking for. There's still some free agents out there. Jarvis Landry still hasn't been secured. T.Y. Hilton, Cole Beasley, these are all free agents who are out there, and for the picking, they can be had. Of course, it's going to blow out your salary cap a little bit. But as far as the draft is concerned, I've seen a lot of these mock drafts, and there are two names that really appear. Now, the Chiefs have numbers 29 and 30 in the first round. They're back-to-back, one by the trade and one because that's where they ended up. A kid named Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. Very fast, very, very quick, but not very good hands. You have to have both of them, gang, to be a good wide receiver. All right, maybe they're feeling they can teach him that. That's one name. And the other is Jahan Dotson from Penn State, who is a solid receiver, who does have the necessary speed and has played at a big time in the Big Ten Conference. So we'll see what happens, what they do in the draft. I do think the Chiefs go for a wide receiver in one of those two rounds, or one of those two picks, I should say, 29 or 30, and the other would be a defensive player.
We'll see. It's exciting either way. Last but not least, we had the Bears going out to Kansas to get a dub out there.
They didn't get a game in. They sent the first batter to the plate, and as soon as he got into the plate, here comes the thunder and the lightning and so forth. So they held up the game for 30 minutes. Okay, that cleared out. Here comes the next batter up. He draws a walk. Here comes the third batter up. More lightning and thunder. So they held up the game for 40 minutes. Okay, that passed on. Here comes the next batter up, and the lightning meter that they have at the stadium in Wichita went off, and the umpire said, hey, heck with this, gang. Let's just call this. So the game never did get played. A couple of batters went to the plate for the Bears, but the game never was completed, and it will not be completed. It's not going to be rescheduled.
It's unfortunate. Those are those ones that don't really matter in this. Well, they do and they don't in the scheme of things. So that's unfortunate. Well, hey, sucks they got to drive all the way out there for nothing.
It's a beautiful drive.
Beautiful. Trust me, I've done it a million times and just cried every single time. Ned, Kansas City Chiefs. Years ago, I was in Arrowhead when this happened. Lose the AFC Championship because of a coin toss. Never got an opportunity to respond. Chiefs come in to the owners' meeting that they have in the preseason or offseason, and they say, hey, this is messed up. We need to do this. A lot of teams are like, no, we don't want to change it, including the Buffalo Bills. Voted against it. Well, then years later, the Kansas City Chiefs are once again in the same situation, this time facing the Buffalo Bills, and it happens to the team that voted against it. They don't get an opportunity to score. Chiefs win and move on. Now, here's the thing. I feel bad for them and did feel bad for them because, in my opinion, that game was the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and Bills this last season. It was one of the best games all season long. But obviously, I'm biased. I think it's funny that they go through that, and then now all of a sudden they're like, well, okay, postseason, we got to let both teams then give them an opportunity to score, and that's the way it's going to be now, isn't it?
I think the reason, yes, that's the way it's going to be. The reason I think for that change in attitude was because when the Chiefs and the Patriots played in that game, that was kind of a unique circumstance, and the rule was in effect then that the first team to score. It had not happened before, so it does in this case, and Brady takes his team downfield. It was Tom Brady, so you get the Tom Brady influence there. This time, it was such a frenetic game, 25 points in the last 3 minutes of the game, and the fans are all excited watching at home. And when that happened, I think the thought process was, I would have liked to have seen the Chiefs or the Bills with the football again. So the whole attitude and scheme and the way the games were played really created a different atmosphere. So the NFL, and I was one of them, proponent for this too, said your best deal is give each team at least one chance. I ran into a friend of mine who knows a little bit about pro football last night, and more than just a little bit. He said, is this really fair because you're taking away the 4th down and 2 situation if they were going upfield? I said, hey, it's the way it is. If you're going to score, you get the chance to score, give the other team the ball. And he said, well, I'm not particularly in favor of that, but this individual while he has great influence in football and knowledge.
So he was against it.
He was against it. He wanted a different circumstance.
So, but what? How would you? I mean, again, it's a coin toss, right? And I guess there's chance there, but there's also luck there. And it just breaks your heart to see a team, because like being in the shoes of the Chiefs when it happened to us, it was heartbreaking. I have Bills fans that I immediately texted that night and said, "Unbelievable game. I feel so bad for you because I've been here before."
That's then. This is now, and the option in his case was play an extra period. Maybe 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, something
so regardless
like
of what happens in possession, you have 6 minutes to figure this out. And at the end, if there's a tie, what happens? We go another 6 or go to 3?
No, but you do alter your plans. I don't think that was ever addressed. But this is the way it's going to be now. Each team will have one possession, and then if it's still tie after that, then it's sudden death.
So if a team was okay, let's go back for a second, just for argument case. If you do the 6 minute thing, there could be a team that just got a great run game and they could eat 6 minutes of the clock and then dump it in and done.
Part of the problem you face.
I guess that's true. Defense has to win championships as well. Well, I'm glad they at least changed it, or at least they're trying to make it better. I don't know if that's the right solution, but it's definitely better than sitting there in your seat going, I can't believe we just lost because of a coin toss. Semi-final night in the NIT. Who won that game?
We have a championship game tomorrow night in the NIT between Xavier and Texas A&M. Get this. I find this to be very interesting. Of all the tournaments going on, Texas A&M is the lone SEC team remaining. No team in the Final Four of the Big Dance, and they are in the Final Two of the National Invitation Tournament. Texas A&M was one of these teams this year in the Southeastern Conference that kind of a pain in the behind. Could come in and beat you, or you could beat them, run them out of the ballpark. They've really come into their own and played very well. They beat Washington State last night like a drum, 72-56. And the other game, Xavier ended the Cinderella dreams, I should say, of St. Bonaventure and beat them in a pretty close ball game by a score of 84-77. So Xavier, which was also kind of a Texas A&M of the Big East, they had good games and had real bad games. Well, they've decided to show up in the championship game. Xavier versus Texas A&M should be a very good game.
Excited to see what happens there. Last but not least, I know everyone's asking, did Albert make it to the plate yesterday?
He did not. The Cardinals didn't play.
Okay.
So they were idle yesterday. They are going to play today. They'll play the Washington Nationals. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Albert get a bat in that game, although it's not in Jupiter. They're playing in Washington's home down in Florida. And the Kansas City Royals continued to play very well, bashed the Seattle Mariners 11-4. A Kansas City in preseason play is 7-3. 7 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie. Again, it is preseason baseball. You can't make any judgments about what a team's going to do. The Royals have always played well in spring training. But I do think this is a pretty good team. It's going to be awfully tough to play during the course of the regular season. Not predicting a championship, but predicting some very good baseball.
Well, last season they came out smoking hot and then just hopefully they can stay up there. Ned, you have a great day and stay dry, my man.